Thanks everybody for tuning in. My name is CleverDingbat, and welcome to the Ready Player One Book Club Session 8. Tonight we will be covering chapters 34 through 39 and finishing this story out. When last we left Wade, he had hacked a supply droid, blew it up, killed the wizard, and brought down the shield. Let's get in to chapter 35. So in chapter 35, the shields come down, and everybody, the entire Oasis has turned out for this final clash between the Gunters and the Sixers. And a huge fight ensues between pretty much everybody in the Oasis, right? The entire Oasis has showed up for this thing, and there's spaceships. There are multiple characters from multiple genres of video game history. You got things from, like, if you've ever seen the old internet 2000 video, The Ultimate Showdown. That's what this is. Like, it's literally everybody from, this 1980s pop culture scene showing up that has any sort of power. You have Sorrento, who is running around in a gigantic Mecha Godzilla. You've got Parsifal inside Leopardon. You've got Gundams. You've got Transformers. You've got Voltron. Like, everybody is showing up for this thing. And all of these artifacts that these Gunters and the Sixers have been collecting are coming into play. Like, this is the battle to end all battles. So Shoto decides he's going to go face off against the Mechagodzilla and Sorrento, saying, he owes the son of a bitch some payback. Not sure how destroying someone's video game robot will avenge an actual real life death, though, on this, because, Sorrento is responsible for Daito not only being killed in the Oasis, but being killed in the real world. But he sure as shit is going to try. Unfortunately, though, Sorrento just vaporizes Shoto. Blows him apart. As well as Parsifal, as well as Leopardon in the process. However, Parsifal remembers that he does have the beta capsule. And, rather than rush to the gate to meet H and Artemis, as he should, to go ahead and hurry and try and get the gate open so they can get through it. Rather than do that, which is what he should do, he just wants to wipe the floor with Sorrento. He really does. He wants to get him back just as bad as Shoto did. For all the pain and suffering that Nolan Sorrento has put Wade Watts through, Wade's just had it. He wants to embarrass him in front of the entire population of the Oasis for all to see. And for everyone to know how, dumb and just how insignificant Nolan Sorrento actually is. So Wade activates the beta capsule and turns into Ultraman. With Ultraman's Ultra Slice, he cleaves Mechagodzilla in half. Sorrento ejects, but Parsifal blasts him out of the air with a laser and kills his avatar. Nolan Sorrento is no more in the Oasis. He's done. However, him being a part of IOI, all he's got to do is just go yank someone out of a immersion rig, and he's right back in there with a new avatar. It's not his original avatar, but he could control any one of the plethora of the IOI Suxors. After transforming back into Parzival, with only a few seconds left on the beta capsule, mind you, like he was less than 20 seconds left on that beta capsule. Parzival enters Castle Anorak, and with the help of his friends Artemis and H, they unlock the third gate, which is, the whole Schoolhouse Rock. 3 is a magic number, because it takes all 3 of them to open the gate. As they step inside, a sound like the entire universe cracking in half reverberates through the Oasis. It goes off. Everyone dies. Game over. In chapter 36, everybody's dead. The Cataclysm that IOI had more than likely purchased on one of the auctions when it went up. They had Nolan Sorrento probably set it off the minute, within probably 60 seconds after his avatar was, killed. The Sixers have detonated this Cataclysm, which is an artifact that it's pretty much a nuke, and it nukes everyone in the entire system. And because, literally half of the Oasis is at this battle, everyone dies. They lose all their equipment, all their character levels. They lose everything. They lose everything. Just like that. This is essentially like the Ready Player One equivalent of Thanos getting the Infinity Gauntlet and snapping his fingers and deleting half of existence. But remember the quarter. So Parzival, all the way back in chapter 22, he played a perfect game of Pac-Man on Planet Arcade. And there was a quarter that was welded to the cabinet that, after he had played the perfect game, fell off the top into Wade's hand and disappeared into his inventory. He couldn't remove it. He couldn't take it out. He couldn't look at it. Nothing. This was a one-up. He got an extra life. No one in the history of the Oasis has ever had an extra life. No one except Parzival. Parzival earned an extra life by playing that perfect game of Pac-Man. So Parzival's back alive. He lives on. Now, he doesn't have, any of his items that he used to have, apparently. But he's got to find a way to get to the third gate. It's good that Parzival lived. It's bad that the castle was destroyed, though, because now the third gate is just kind of hanging there. It's just floating in space. Because the Cataclysm went off, it destroys literally everything around it. It is like Castle Anorak being destroyed is like when the tower falls in Return of the King and Lord of the Rings, and it just shatters to a million pieces except the gate. The gate's still there. It's like if that tower that had the Eye of Sauron was not there anymore, but the eye still was. So it's just floating. The gate is just there, floating in space. Parzival needs an artifact to figure out how he can fly up there. He had rocket boots, but they weren't an artifact. So he has to have an artifact. Luckily, Artemis's magic sneakers are an artifact, and they allow you to fly. So Artemis, Artemis, H, and Shoto have all been patched in to Wade's headset, right? They've all been patched in there. And Ogden Morrow has done this for them. He has helped them out, and they're at his place right now. This is where they're playing from. So Ogden has essentially patched everybody's feeds now into Wade's immersion rig so they can hear and see everything he can, because he's the only one of them that's still alive, and they're helping him out. So Artemis lets him know about the sneakers, and they're nearby. So he goes, picks them up, puts them on, lets Artemis know, don't worry, I will return them. And Wade pretty much has one shot to ace the third gate, because there are still 26ers on the scoreboard. IOI had an ace in the hole because they had the forethought of like, hey, if it gets bad and somebody else is about to clear the third gate or open it, we're just going to blow up the whole system. And then come back in with these other 20 and we'll still win. What they didn't count on was that Parzival had an extra life. So Parzival puts the sneakers on. He flies up into the air and through the third gate. The third gate's first challenge is a game of Tempest. And no, not William Shakespeare's play, the arcade game. This was even hinted at in Anorak's Almanac, to which Wade feels completely and utterly stupid for not realizing it. Artemis knew this was a no-brainer. Even though he has 1 credit, Parzival uses a trick to get 40 more credits to help him achieve the high score. The way he does this is on a it's on a tournament cabinet, and this was an exploit that was in the game that you could do. So he goes and does the exploit to get 40 more credits so that he can get the highest score. Because he has to beat James Halliday's score in order to clear this challenge and move on to stage 2. Wade does this, without much problem at all. After getting the tips from Artemis about, getting the 40 extra credits. Tempest is not really his game, but he manages to make it through and still achieve the highest score, beating, making sure that there's some pad there for him to, help slow down the Sixers. But he also wants to clear it first so that he can move on to stage 2 and be there first, and set a score they're going to have a really hard time beating. Stage 2 is another flick sync that we had saw before, similar to War Games, except this time it is Monty Python and the Holy Grail, and Parzival has to act out all of King Arthur's lines. Meanwhile, while he's doing the flick sync with Monty Python and the Holy Grail, the Sixers are playing Tempest. So Parzival really needs to ace this thing, or the Oasis will be lost forever at this point. They'll be lost to IOI and, their fascist, multinational, corrupt business practices. He clears it. He clears the movie. He knows Monty Python so very well. It does make it a little bit more difficult having everybody patched in, because he can't say and like he can't carry on the conversation with them in his ears. It's like being in Discord and trying to stream sometimes. You're only getting half of it, and except this time, like if he says a line of dialogue or responds to like Artemis or H's conversation, and it's not meant to be in Monty Python, he will, he'll get a demerit essentially, and his score will be impacted. And as we know, you don't want to have 3 mistakes in a row in a flick sync. So he starts realizing, okay, I'm just going to use text chat to them, and they can just respond back to me. After he clears the movie, he is transported into a recreation of Halliday's office. So the Easter egg has to be hidden somewhere in Halliday's office. So the first really hard task that Parzival's going to have to encounter here in Chapter 8, after he's in Halliday's office, is to log into Halliday's computer. He tries a few passwords at first. He tries things that he think would mean something to Halliday. He even tries Kira, the name of Ogden Morrow's wife, who Halliday had been in love with since they were kids. And this did not work. It did not let him in. Every password he enters was wrong. Until he remembered that Halliday had a name for Kira that was not Kira. It was Leucosia, which was the name of her D&D characters in their campaigns, much like how Halliday went by Anorak. Kira went by Leucosia. Parzival enters this, and the system says access granted. Once it boots up, he races over to the Atari 2600 and plugs in the game Adventure. Playing his way through the secret room containing the very first video game Easter egg. So Adventure comes into play here. He has to play Adventure, find the Easter egg inside the game. When he finds it, an egg appears on the monitor of Halliday's computer. Parzival is literally able to reach inside the computer and grab the egg. He's done it. He has Halliday's Easter egg. Anorak, Halliday's avatar, appears and congratulates him. He gives him all of his money and power-ups. Parzival's stats are now infinite. He cannot die. He is immortal inside the Oasis. He is all-powerful. Everything that Parzival has ever wanted. He also points out a giant red button, which is an emergency shutdown for the entire Oasis. It will launch a worm that will go through and delete the Oasis entirely, including its source code. And it would remove the Oasis from the world permanently. He tells Parzival to make sure it would be a really good idea before he pushes the button. Like, there's no takesy backsies on this. It's not something that you can just undo relatively easily, this would be extremely difficult. So he just lets him know, like, hey, this is the kill switch, but don't push it unless you think it's a really good idea. Finally, Anorak offers Parzival some advice. He tells Parzival that he shouldn't hide in the Oasis forever. He should join reality and really live. Largely because I think this is something for Halliday that Halliday had struggled with. And I think Halliday really has some regret that he did not participate in reality as much as he did, or as much as he would have wanted to later in life. Wade logs out after this. After he wins, after meeting his hero, after inheriting everything. The scoreboard updates as well. Now Wade in Anorak's robes is, on Anorak's website. It's on all the news feeds. Everyone knows who it is. Everyone knows who's won. After he logs out, he receives congratulations from H and Og. And they also learn that Sorrento has been arrested for all of his illegal activities, including the explosion at the stacks, the murder of Daito, everything that's gone on during the competition that Wade blew the whistle on. He's being arrested for. Wade worries, though, that he'll get off without punishment because he can hire the best lawyers around. But H reminds him that with all of Halliday's money, they can hire a team just as good, if not better, and put Sorrento in his place. Wade really wants to meet Artemis. This is over the course of this book, from the time they met in the Tomb of Horror. Parzival has both been in love with and wanted to meet Artemis in person. And he's moments away from doing so. Og tells him that she's in the Hedge Maze outside. The maze is a replica of the labyrinth from Adventure, actually. Complete with giant statues that look just like duck-shaped dragons that are villains of the game. And in the middle of the maze is Artemis. She looks just like the picture IOI had of her. Wade tells her that he loves her. She apologizes to him for cutting off communication during the competition and tells him that he is her best friend. She then kisses him, and sparks fly. The story ends with Wade having absolutely no desire to log back into the Oasis. And that is the end of Ready Player One. I love this book. It is a gigantic nostalgia bomb for me as a kid. I grew up playing on a Nintendo Entertainment System that I had gotten for my 5th birthday from my mom. Our favorite game was Legend of Zelda. We used to play Nintendo for hours. And then many years later, World of Warcraft came out, and that was our game. this book for me touches on so many things that I loved as a kid and still love today, and will probably love for many, many, many years to come. I just want to say thanks to Ernest Cline for writing the book. Whether or not you feel the book's derivative, and it is, but I don't necessarily see derivative as a bad thing. I think Ready Player One is great. Because it is greater than the sum of its parts. For me. Now, I'm not saying that everybody is going to resonate with this book the same way that I did, because they won't. That's apparent now. It'll be apparent in many, many years to come, and all the people who haven't read it and will read it in the future. But for me, this book is my I don't want to say it's my favorite book, because that wouldn't be true. It is in my top 5 of all time for many, many reasons. And I hope all of you that took the journey and read it with me, or if you read it again with me, thank you. And I look forward to doing this again with you all very soon. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. My name is CleverDingbat. I stream over here on Twitch every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And we have weekly movie nights over in my Discord. We will probably be continuing those after this Ready Player One book club. We typically start those around 10 p.m., but please make sure you join the Discord. It'll be linked in the comments down below. We have had a giveaway going on for the Ready Player 2 copy, either via Kindle edition, Audible credit, or physical book. And I would like to go ahead and draw that name now, if everyone is cool with that. And I'll be announcing it in the Discord. So if you won, or if you're watching this on YouTube and you haven't reached out, I'll give you guys some time to claim it. I'm going to hopefully try and get out all the back episodes this week. Hopefully all of them will be uploaded by Friday, and this one should be uploaded this Friday. So if I will give the winner until December the 4th to claim your prize. Either, however you want to claim it, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, whatever. Just try to get a hold of me, and we'll go through some verification processes. We'll probably verify everything through Discord. It's fine. But yeah, so on December the 4th, that's when we will cut the ability for you to claim your prize. But let's go ahead and let's draw that winner, shall we? Veruvlin. You have won your very own copy of Ready Player 2. Either via book, Kindle edition, or Audible edition. Veruvlin. So thank you so much. But guys, that's it for me. I will catch you guys in the next one. Remember, be excellent to each other. Peace.